of beans and some tomato and basil. And I've already started the squash because this cooker's a little on the mild side, shall we say. So all I've done is coated them with a little bit of olive oil, gorgeous olive oil from the olive oil factory across the way, and a little bit of salt. Some people put pepper on before they grill, but I think the pepper burns and you get those little like cinders on your food, so I don't do that. I just do the olive oil and salt. And I have gorgeous squash here, all different kinds. Some of these are from Wild Carrot Farm. Look, we have the zephyrs here. Aren't they neat looking? Really fun. And these patty pans, people say to me, what do I do with a patty pan? A lot of people think it's just an ornamental, but you can slice these up, put them on the grill, you can hollow them out and stuff them. And they're really sweet to have on the table. They make a great presentation. Also, some of these tiny ones are from March Farm, really small, sweet, succulent squash. So I'm just kind of grilling this up here. I want it to have the lines like that, the little grill marks, but I still want it to be kind of crunchy inside, still have some texture. I think sometimes when people cook squash and zucchini, they cook it until it's kind of watery and they get turned off by it. But it can have a nice crunch. You can even cook squash and, bless you honey, you can cook squash and zucchini, serve squash and zucchini raw in a slaw or in a salad, or just as a crudité, just chopped up. Sometimes I use a basket like this for my vegetables, which is really handy, but these guys really want to sit right on the grill today to get the most of that heat.
Do you have something on them before you put it?
Just a little bit of olive oil and salt. And I'm going to put the same thing on these onions and scallions. Beautiful, aren't they? So nice. Making pretty designs there, I don't know. So I'm just taking the ends of these off. I've washed them. Just nipping the ends off. And then this is pretty thick, so I'm just going to cut through that a little bit so the heat gets in there. So I've just cut a little, I've quartered it, but I've left it whole because this is a purple onion. But I've quartered it so the heat gets in there, but I've left it whole because who wants to be chasing little bits of onion all around their grill? And I have just some leftover olive oil and salt in this pan that I'm just going to put on these. You don't have to use a lot, just enough so that when it makes contact with the pan, it's not steaming. Okay, got that on there, and the same thing with the scallions. I love to do this with vegetables. Sometimes when I come home from the market with a little too much, you know, everything looked great, I couldn't make up my mind. I just throw everything on the grill. And then I have a great supply of roasted vegetables in my refrigerator for a few days. You can use them on sandwiches, toss them with pasta with rice, or in a salad like this. So, in addition to the squash and the scallions and the onions that we have there, I have some gorgeous heirloom beans. Now, you might see in the farmer's market heirloom tomatoes, heirloom potatoes. You know, they come in all shapes and sizes and colors. Peppers, different varieties that you can't get in the grocery store. You can get heirloom varieties, don't ship very well. Sometimes they're a little more particular to grow. And people grow them for flavor. They're not grown for speed and durability like most things in industrial agriculture. They're grown for great flavor. So these heirloom beans that I have here are grown for great flavor as well. I have 3 varieties over here just to show you a little bit of the different sizes. These are really tiny whites, medium marrow beans, and the huge runner cannellonis. These are called Red Nightfall. They have kind of fun names. A lot of these heirloom beans are the same beans that Native American Indians grew before settlers came, so indigenous to this country. And then I have some cherry tomatoes that are going in here. You can leave them whole, or you can use any kind of tomato that you have. You could use a regular tomato, a large tomato, and just chop it up. I'm just going to cut these a little bit so that when the heat hits them, they release some of their juices and kind of give a little acidity to the dish. Okay, so it looks like we just have some tomatoes in a bowl right here, but actually we're very close to the end of this recipe. Just chopping my rolling tomatoes. I think this should be some sort of contest. I feel like I'm on one of those Japanese game shows, like chop the rolling tomatoes without cutting off your fingers. I'm just going to flip over these onions. nice they come with their own handles. There we go. Just a couple more tomatoes in there, that's fine. All right, now the zucchini has some nice color, and you can see, oops, it wiggles a little or it breaks a little. It should be a little bit pliable, but not where you put your main course on. It's a great time to throw the vegetables on there because they're much more tolerant of the heat. You can put the vegetables on there and they won't toughen up if it's very hot grilled. If you were at home, you might want to let these cool a moment, but I'm going to do another Japanese game show trick here and chop while they're hot. Why not? This is the patty pan squash. I'm just going to cut that into a fine dice, medium dice. I'm going to dice it, and that's fine. I feel like Benihana. Okay, and then chopping this. And when the heat hits the tomatoes, they're going to release some of their juices. And that's going to be lovely. Bring in a nice, almost like a sauce. Yes, this is a really simple recipe. And when it's done, you'll see it makes a great side dish. And it also, you could add it to pasta for a complete meal. You could add it to rice. You could put it chopped up on top of a toasted baguette as like a little hors d'oeuvre. It would be cute too. Okay, now I have all my nice chopped up squash. It's burning me, and that's okay. You'll let yours cool and you won't have to do this little parlor trick. That's okay. Right, and now I'm going to take these onions off, and like the zucchini, they are going to be still have a lot of crunch. They're going to have a lot of texture.
We have to share, for example.
And you could use any onions that you had. You can use the spring onions, you could use red onion, you could use a Walla Walla or Vidalia onion as long as it's local from your farmer's market. I guess you could even use raw onion, that would be fine too. And then I have these gorgeous heirloom beans. Now you could use any kind of beans as well. I have these that I got from Rancho Gorda, which does beautiful heirloom beans, but you could use any dried bean. I like the dried better than the canned. I think they just have a better texture.
And you soak them?
I soak them overnight, and then I just put them over a low heat, bring them to a boil, and then simmer them. And I know it sounds a little facetious, but you just simmer them until they're done. And it really depends on the bean. The fresher the bean, it can cook very quickly. I'm just tossing the beans with those hot vegetables, and then I'm going to put a little basil on top. Everybody's crazy for basil this time of year, right? It smells so good.
Ouch.
I love it. Okay, now I'm just rolling this into like a little tube and then chopping it. This is just called a chiffonade. Some people prefer to tear their basil, and that's fine too. But if you do this little trick, it makes it really easy to chop. And I think if you put it directly in the dish, it doesn't bruise so much that it's unappealing. Some people like to rip it so it doesn't bruise.
What's a chiffonade?
It's these little ribbons. And you get that by just rolling your basil into a tube and then chopping it crossways. Now a little bit more olive oil from the olive oil factory. I really recommend a nice olive oil with this dish because you have so few ingredients. You really want to select them well. And some good pepper, a little salt, and we should be done. Little toss, nice and warm. You could serve this warm, you could serve it room temperature or even cold. It keeps really well. It'll make a nice lunch for you the next day. Really easy, and all from the farmer's market.
Oh, I think awesome. Al, do you want to try?
No?
Al.
How about you?
Sure. Colonel, do you want to try?